today. Hands up, those of you who think in 5 years' time all parcels will be delivered by drones. Okay. I'm obviously talking to the informed audience. The number of people you speak to who think that we're going to actually have parcels delivered by drones, one after the other coming to our front door and getting a signature, a clean signature, and then someone's going to pay for it or have paid for it, is unbelievable. And that's the first time I've actually ever had an audience of people that have actually said, no, drones won't work. It's amazing, isn't it? Anyway, there we go. Well, first of all, a big welcome to you all, both to guests who've been here before, and another quick straw poll. Who's been here before? This is not the exhibitors, this is the audience. Who's been here before? Hands in the air quickly. Okay, so we've got some old hands. We might explore why you're back again, which is good news. And we'll see at the end perhaps who might want to come back next year. So this is the, where's my clicker? Here we go. So, yeah, this is the 10th live presentation that we've done in the WTG. And I'd just like to say a quick thanks to the organising committee behind it, who worked with myself, Mark Cummins from Constructor, to put this event together. And I've got to say, this is the most people we've had for one of these events. We had 200 registrations. Which is probably about 60 more than we've had before, so, and the weather helped as well. The dog on the M60 didn't though, so those of you who've come from the south will have been caught in the traffic, couldn't organise that, I'm afraid. Oops. So what is today all about? Well, today, and the Warehouse Technology is all about, or the Warehouse Technology Group to start with, is all about man and machine working together, and the symbiotic process between machines working with people and machines working with each other. So we've got a group of 23 manufacturers, and we think some of the best in the world of manufacturing equipment. And you'll notice there's no duplication between those different manufacturers. One leads to the next and so on and so forth. And to make a successful warehouse work, or work successfully, all that machinery's got to work together. So what we're trying to do, or what we have done, is set up this warehouse here, with all the different component parts of the warehouse working together. And please explore that. The session today is a learning session. So it's a challenge for you really to say, well, here's some free space for you to think about how you might take some of their ideas back from today and work them into your own warehouse. So this is one of the key challenges. Is it mankind versus machine? Or have we got it in balance? I think probably one of the reasons we've got so many people here today is because of the different component parts we're about to explore. So it's all about the different inputs we've got going on in the wider world. This is a learning session, so I'm just going to start us off with some stats. Okay, 35% of decision makers think there's a shortage. Anecdotally, all the customers I've spoken to in the last 6 months think there's a mega labour shortage. And we all expect at the moment to increase our headcount. So good labour, a problem. So why have we got a tight labour market? Well, we've got pretty much full employment. We're down to 4.7% unemployed. We've got rising labour costs, and that's something that's started to creep in, probably in the last 3 to 6 months. And at the moment, warehousing's not too bad. But if you look at the other component parts of logistics, driving, and we've got some colleagues from Stobart here today, your wage costs, I'm sure, are under pressure right now, right the way across the sector. And I'm convinced it will come to warehousing as well, and that's without an increase in minimum wage, which I would imagine the results of the last week or so make that even more likely. Okay, we've got the apprenticeship levy costs, so you've got an automatic 0.5% increase in your labour bill. And in this sector particularly, in logistics particularly, we've still got a poor image of it being a successful place to go and have a career. So all of those things together make labour one of the key factors in why we're all sat here today, I think. Okay, So that's one of the key issues. The next one is sheds. Can anyone tell me what percentage of the UK square footage in warehousing that was bought last year was bought by Amazon? Anybody know the answer to this question? Yeah, I think it was 32 from one organisation alone. So that's made it pretty tight for everybody else. So we've got a shortage of good people, we've got a shortage of sheds. Well, what else is happening? Well, it's all about retail, isn't it? We've done this thing called e-shopping. And we've got this vehicle that's charging through the marketplace, and the high street is literally closing down. The out-of-town shopping centres, not what they once were. And, you know, it's increasing 15+% year on year. And what we don't know is, will it reach a critical point where actually it'll go super ballistic, or will it tail off? No one really knows what the shape of the curve looks like. And if you look at the likes of M&S and Debenhams, many of them closing stores, and those stores aren't much use as warehouses. Okay. So what next? Couple of key questions. We've got people like Amazon saying and pandering to the public, to the purchasers, you can have it today. And Argos have come in too. You can have it today. Now, the pressures on the logistics sector are enormous in terms of you can have it today. Oh, and by the way, you can have it for next to nothing. And if you don't like it, you can send it back. So we're putting some pretty strong customer expectations in people's minds as to what they can expect to get. And I suppose there has to come a tipping point, but so far, everyone's competing with each other to offer the best they can. Can machines deliver? Well, I started with drones, and the public clearly thinks that drones are the answer and that machines can deliver. Well, I think there's some things about machines that's interesting. How many of you got automated warehouses, fully automated warehouses? Nobody in this room's got a fully automated warehouse? Okay, some interesting characteristics. That's interesting. But that's what a lot of people are talking about, fully automated warehouses. The only snag is, the ones I've seen have been used for things like ice cream. And as long as you don't get a bright sunny day like today and everybody wants an ice cream today or at lunchtime, which of course is the expectation, you're okay. But normally it takes about 18 hours to process an order. Well, if you've got sales going out today and you need your product tomorrow, you haven't got those 18 hours. You've got sort of 6-7 hours. And therefore you need a flexible warehouse. I'm sure Simon will talk about that more today. Oh, what else? Gosh, it just got even more complicated, didn't it? Trump, Brexit, Brexit, Trump, Brexit, Trump. Yeah, Scotland just about hanging into England. Then we've got a hung parliament. A hung parliament like we've not had before, because this is going to be different. And we don't know what the effect the DUP joining up is going to have. And a very, very, very small majority, and still trying to do a deal with Europe. And that's just the sort of really big stuff. And then we come down a bit, and what's going to be the response to that really, really big stuff? Well, the pound's going to devalue more. I think there's a fairly good bet on that right now. We've already seen it come down to 1.2. It could go further down. What's the implication of that? Well, machines are going to cost more, aren't they? Because a big component part of the machines, you've got to buy them from abroad, not all from the UK. So the cost of machines is going to go up. And we're going to get inflation. That's already started. We've had 4 quarters now where it's risen. So what's the impact of inflation? Probably interest rates going to go up. So the cost of machines is going to go up, A, because you get them from abroad as well as the UK, and the component parts will go up, but also the cost of that machinery is going to go up. Now, here's the thing. If we have an economic slowdown, which again is likely, You've got to be careful when you're buying machines that the 40,000 units an hour that this machine can do may only require 20,000 units. So the first two factors we're talking about here suggest you go out tomorrow and buy a machine. Get it now while the currency is not too weak, get it now before interest rates go up, do a decent deal. However, you've got to make sure you've got some flexibility in your machines to be able to do less as well as more. And that, of course, is why we haven't got any trade barriers, which I think my own view would be, I don't think we will have trade barriers because the Germans want us buying their cars as much as they, as vice versa. So I think there's some powerful forces that say the trade barriers won't be in place, but the fiscal barriers will, and also the devaluation inflation is a huge factor. So some more complicated factors to consider. Okay, some other stuff that you might think about. E-fulfillment, it's said, takes 3 times as much space as a standard warehouse. And look at the square footage that was built last year. Now that was in the pipeline, and I'm sure our colleagues from Savile will give us an idea of what's in the pipeline for the next 5 years, but fickle. And look at the percentage taken up when we say retail space, we mean e-retail space. Some other things to consider. Your new technology-hungry warehouses require a different sort of staffing. Colleagues at CNAP have been talking to me for the past 2 or 3 years about putting first-line responders in the warehouses. So people who actually can repair a conveyor belt or use technology such as a phone to help identify the fault from a central base. Now, we're not talking about those people yet, but as we get more technology, we're more dependent upon the machine. How do we respond to that? So we need to think about our labour as well. And that's before we talk about the challenge of reverse logistics and all that entails. 6 times as many people required in a reverse logistics facility as opposed to an outbound facility. Okay, coming towards the end of my piece. Some key challenges, still need an inventory reduction. You may have multiple stocking locations, so go away from CDCs to RDCs and even local DCs to enable fast delivery times. Because while you've got a CDC, you've got a natural, you're putting in a natural 6, 7, 8 hour break before you can respond to customers' needs. If you want to keep your local delivery cost low.
Excuse me?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. CDC, Central Distribution Centre, typically in the Midlands, and RDC being a regional one, for example, in Manchester, so you get the link between one and the other, and then it goes to your local depot. So you've got sort of 3 parts to the chain if you want to deliver it economically. Okay. Minimising waste. At the moment, there's a number of distributors that actually throw the returns in the bin. But obviously it's hugely wasteful. And how you manage that waste and how you manage those returns has a huge impact on your profitability. You need the right people, and there's not many of them, and there's increasingly less of them. So your recruitment's really important, and making sure you get people who can work with those machines to make them work correctly. And that isn't just at the sort of shop floor level, that's all us guys as well. We've got to improve our knowledge on how to make the machines work really well. And I don't just mean our colleagues at Hatmill that design it for you in the beginning, it's the middle management as well. For example, how you're driving your machine today. You will need to play with it to get the best out of it. So different skill sets. Okay, that's enough from me, and hopefully I've completely confused you and got you thinking about some of the different things you need to consider when you're looking at your machinery and your automation. And hopefully it will give you some ideas for talking to colleagues around the room today and get our brains working. This is all about helping you make really good decisions in the future. And hopefully it will be a great day. That's enough for me. Thanks very much. I think it's over to colleagues. Peter, thank you very much.